check my latitude.
Ooh, I like that.
Ooh, I like that.
All right. I should not be yawning because I do have a long day. We're heading into the city to meet people for dinner.
Oh, nice.
Oh, by the way, starting with that, today I'm on a call with somebody and I said, yeah, I'm going into the city. And it's somebody like I'm talking about people in New York. Like I'm talking with people from New York. And then I caught myself. I'm like, oh, wait. I mean, I know you probably don't know this. I live in outside of Chicago, so I'm going into Chicago. You know, I know that we both have in the city. And they start laughing. And the one girl's like, oh, I only live in New York a couple of months out of the year. I'm in Europe right now. And I'm like, the world is so small and big and connected and not in so many different ways, right?
Crazy. I'm in Europe right now. Great. Awesome.
Good
You
for
can
you.
afford New York and Europe.
Well, I was kind of thinking that. I'm like, I want to know, like, because I know what she does, and we're not going to get into all that, but I know what she does for a living. So I'm like, you have to have a side gig, right? Like, like there's a side gig over here that's making you money because this, what I'm talking to you about, is not, right?
That's hilarious. I love that so much.
Like,
or like you got that sugar daddy husband, right? Or
maybe.
Husband / wife, whichever. Spouse.
It's on my checklist to be like, someday when her and I are on a call just one-on-one, it would be like, so not on a group call. What's your side deal? Right? Like, do you just come from money? Maybe? I don't know. Do you have an uncle? Right? Like, no, I'm joking.
I love it.
So anyways, before I get to my like little fun thing I want to show, you've had some excitement.
Oh, I got a big girl full-time job. So
Yes.
I was working at, well, I am / was working at a more of a easy, quick job.
You knew it was going to be temporary. The job that you were at was not the long-term dream of anything.
Right. And really it was to establish that I can get to work because I don't drive. So working from home for so many years and then owning my own business, when you go to try to establish yourself in the workforce, it's a really difficult thing. And when you don't drive, that's even more difficult because people really don't think that you're going to show up. So I really did it to establish, hey, I walked to work at 11 p.m. or 1 a.m. or 3 a.m. And
or during the day, you would walk home during lighted hours also.
I'd walk home during the lighted hours, but I'd walk to work at the nighted hours. But the point is even in Louisiana, it was 104 degrees at 11 o'clock at night.
And didn't y'all get a hurricane?
I think somebody said something's coming today. So
okay, is it coming today?
Yeah.
Brian was telling me something about when you talk to her, ask her how the hurricane's going, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And you were probably like, Brittany knows nothing.
Well, and you're inland. It's not like you're on the water. So
we might have a breeze from it.
Well, you might get rain or something. I don't know. But I don't think you're worried about your house floating away.
No. I think the storms here, I worry more about my house. Look, I'm just saying. It's
Aren't you on stilts a little bit? You're stilted a little bit, right?
Most houses here are on stilts. Like almost every house here is on stilts. And you're basically, no matter where you're at, you're either at the top of the hill or the bottom of the hill. Like you're in a hill no matter what. So there's a lot of stilts, no basements. And it's a definite new experience coming from Colorado where like the animals can't live under your house.
Right.
So,
or if they are, you get them out quickly. They don't belong. There's no home there for them.
Yeah, you're like, oh, fix that hole. Here, you're like, the whole house is the hole.
Right.
Great. But my kitty, when she moved in, because I've had her for 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one stray that will even come near our property. and his name is Bob. And I think he has a crush on Lila. But all the other strays are gone.
So we don't have strays here that I know about, but we do have a new pet rabbit. I have named her Betty. She comes into the backyard and she comes all the time. And she's very cute. And she only comes, though, when the dog's not outside. So the minute that Cookie goes outside, even though Cookie probably wouldn't eat her because she's old, she scampers away. So, but we do have a little pet rabbit. I've thrown some carrots out there. I'm not sure I'm supposed to do that, but it keeps them coming. Anyway, so before we get into our topic, which is all about communication, I'm going to see if I can do this.
Oh my gosh!
I got stickers. A whole bunch of them. See, woo! Stickers. So, since we only have a few people that watch us, I will be mailing out some. Next week, I am at a conference. So next week, I don't think I'll be able to mail them ahead of time. But some people are going to get some stickers in the mail, and people at the conference are going to get them as prizes. And they have my little coloring book characters on them. So I just wanted something fun. I looked into making stuffies that look like my characters. That's expensive.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I was going to say the Book Goblin just got a stuffy, and she has a whole store of stuff. So
see, yeah, So I don't know who the Book Goblin is, but I am not at her level of buying stuffies that are part of my book collection yet. So, but I just wanted to share that. And now we're going to get into our topic, which is about communication, and not with your teenager that lives with you, because I had that problem this morning. And there's laws that you have to follow around communicating with your child. And so we're going to talk about business communication instead. How does that sound?
I think that's awesome. And I think it's an important way if you own a business, if you work in a business. Mm-hmm. Communication definitely is something that I think goes awry. Yeah. Goes awry, all the things. And missing. It's always missing, right? A lot of times there's so much missing communication in business. And it can be between the levels, right? Sometimes management are the only people privy to whatever's happening, and you're just told you have to do it this way. Sometimes the owners have an idea, but they're not sharing it with anybody. So they're like backdoor dealing, trying to get away with stuff. And then employees, even at the bottom level, they communicate to each other a lot more gossip than they do to management, right? It's a lot more stressors and different things than they do directly to management. And so there's a lot of different communication things. And if you own your own business, when you're communicating to your team, your marketing team, your other team, like there's a lot of communication as to what you yourself want your business to represent. And I think just across the board, we lack those conversations. And that's what I thought about today when I thought of our topic. Guys, thought of our topic before we got in here.
Yes. Well, actually, like a solid 30 minutes, she gave me a topic before. Like that's planning for us for this podcast. Okay. So the first thing that came to my mind, though, before we delve into this completely, what came to my mind as you were talking was I read something this morning, and it was all about, what is something that you should start delegating or just stop doing in your business. And it got me thinking a little bit. And the reason I want to go into it is because a lot of the examples we give, especially around communication, people think, oh, well, that doesn't apply to me because I'm a solopreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, whatever you define yourself as, right? I'm a consultant and it's just me, right? Who am I supposed to delegate something to? The dog on the working couch? By the way, my dog has a working couch during work time. There's a working couch. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? Tell her to do it? Trust me, if I could let her make phone calls, I would, right? But delegating is something that we're not going to necessarily talk about today, but I want you to think about all the communication examples that we talk about today and how they can apply as a solopreneur. So when we talk about, say, delegating or communicating with your people and having good conversations and, all of these things, think about the people in your circle. Okay. And you can't necessarily delegate to them, but you could delegate to AI. You could delegate to creating a Zap. You could, if you don't know how to do those things, reach out to Brittany. I can't make Zaps to save my life. Okay, but my point is that there's ways to delegate things, right? So let's get back to the communication thing. But I think sometimes some of the topics we talk about, because you and I are in team atmospheres in a lot of our life now, especially in the jobs that pay us.
Right. So. But also, I do want to talk about how communication, even with yourself as an employer, right? You do need to communicate, this is my marketing goal, that you have to have that written down and you have to have that established, even with yourself. Because when you're looking at your marketing goal and then you go over here to network, that networking conversation needs to have that marketing message in it. And so it's really important to make sure that you have that foundation and it's solid and you know how to communicate that straight and forward to yourself, to other people, and in the different aspects. This is how I market and communicate with my clients. This is how I market and communicate with my social media. This is my marketing and communication when I'm networking, and making sure that that's a unified representation. And that's an example.
I like that example. Sorry, I think I just had a fly or something. So I like that example of the communication with clients, because you and I have both had those clients where somehow the original agreement of what I will do and what they will do has, using your word from the beginning, has gone astray. And somehow the, 3 hours a week that I had agreed to has now turned into 10. And this type of communication is a thing that happens as an entrepreneur, as a consultant, as a coach, as well as in quote unquote a 9-to-5 job, right? Just, I basically work 9 to 5 because that's why, but I work from home on my own schedule. And, yesterday I went away for 3 hours because I wanted to. So that's the benefits I have. But it happens either way, whether it's in your own small business or in a 9-to-5 office related job. The neighbor's dog is out. I take it.
Yes, River went outside. Is she super loud? I can't.
No.
Okay. I was going to say I can't shut the window because that's Lila's window and it doesn't close.
No. It's just more funny than anything. It was like, oh, the neighbor's dog. Hey.
I completely agree with that. And so really, I guess the point would be, why did we pick this topic, right?
Sure.
And one of the biggest things we've talked about kind of in the past, how when you're having issues with coworkers or when you're having issues with employees, that communication is very key. And there comes a point where sometimes communication needs to be taken to the next level. Mm-hmm. And I had to communicate some very strong things to the corporate level. Let's go with that. I went from management for 2 months of management communication to now I'm escalating to corporate. And when corporate responded, they didn't.
They just closed it, right? They closed it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they didn't contact me. They didn't do anything. And when I went to go pull up the complaint, I can pull it up because it's in a really nice system. But what I can't do is it just said closed. And that was very dismissive. Very dismissive for even when it says like no notes were made. If you have a place to make a note, if you have a place to create communication, you're going to want to do that. And it was very shocking to me for the fact that HR had just closed such a significant conversation.
Sorry,
So
you need to
that's
stop
what-
just for 1 second. So I talked about my dog. So the dog has to go to her other house. She has 2 houses. And she is just not leaving. She's like, nope, I'm sitting here. I'm comfortable. And he's literally having to drag her off the couch. It is so funny.
Poor baby.
But yes, I was taking your story seriously. And if there isn't a spot for notes, right? At the end, if there isn't, let's pretend there isn't.
Are you kidding?
There should be. There should be, right? And they need to implement that. Now, is it a possibility that they gave that information to a manager and that manager is going to have a one-on-one with you? Was it possible they closed it and somebody was supposed to call you and, you know, things got mixed in this, you know, something and you're going to get a call in 2 days and they're going to be like, oh, we didn't realize we closed it. It is a bigger company. Stuff like that can happen, right? Those general mistakes. However, I'm going to highly doubt it.
Right.
I'm
And
giving benefit of the doubt here.
very first thing I did was I reopened. I called the company because they use a company to utilize those formal complaints. I called them
Sure.
and I was like, hey, this is unacceptable. What do I do? They were like, hey, just open a new one, referencing that one, requesting that there be, you know, what you need.
A
there.
reevaluation or whatever.
Right. So I did that. And then I immediately, because I'm huge on communication, messaged my manager the reopened case. And hey, I reopened the case. I said this here. And I told him I'm very upset about this. And
Not unreasonably. You should be upset. Yeah.
right. I was like, inside of that message was my last day and attorney. So
Well, in the funny part, so not the funny part, I should say maybe the ironic part is, so you've been dealing this for months. This
Right.
wasn't like somebody did something one day and now you're, you know, being a Karen. This was months of this needs to be fixed. And we're not going to say what this is, okay? But this needs to be fixed and it wasn't fixed and you had to go up the chain, right? I need to tell you, yesterday, I made one call to my insurance company. She claimed she couldn't hear me and hung up, and I was mad at the world. And it was one thing. Now imagine that happened, a similar thing, and that wasn't your situation. But let's say if I had to deal with that for 3 months long or more, I would be mad at the world. And now they just shut my little case down. No.
well, and the fact of like, hey, I've been in communication the whole time. I was in communication with one specific person. And this escalation for this particular instance was so severe that at this point, my manager needs support, right?
Yeah.
I know that he's going to need support in this. This is a violation of videos that every staffer had to watch. So when you're looking at those different things, for it to simply have just been closed was not okay. And my manager got on the phone with me right away and discussed some things with me. And I have noticed that there was things that I had mentioned across the board to better the team that has been implemented, right? So there was things that I had noticed was like, oh, cool, we're doing this a little bit better. We're doing this. However, the actual issue I felt was not being addressed, and nobody had told me we're addressing this.
Sure.
Just a simple closeout. And it was I cried. I cried so hard yesterday.
Well, because the anger and every other emotion, right? A lot of times people are like, you know, why are you crying? I'm not crying because I'm sad. I'm crying because there is no other emotion other than probably slapping somebody. And you live by yourself at the moment. So you're like, I either slap somebody or I cry, and I can't slap someone. So crying is the option.
Yep. And maybe just that dismissal, that
Yes.
feeling of dismissal when you don't communicate to your team. And we talked about this at the beginning. If managers are doing what managers are doing and just telling you, you know, just A, B, and C. Well, we need to know the whys for A, B, and C, right? The team should know why these things are happening or what is going on so that they can fully provide the right service, right?
But I'm also going to say every employee is different. And I want to say this. Having a policy as a policy is perfectly fine. And you don't necessarily have to start every person who starts somewhere with the why. But if they ask why, you should have the reason and a valid reason. Yeah. We're not like, dad who just says, because I said so, right? Like, it doesn't work like that. Some people are perfectly fine with working somewhere where I have a checklist. I don't care why I have a checklist. I got a checklist, right? And then there's other people, you are one of them, that are like, number 3 on that checklist is stupid. So until you tell me why I have to do number 3, why I can't just go to 4, and you've had this conversation with something in your head, right? You're like, I need to know why 3 is important. And if somebody says, well, that 3 gives accounting exactly what they need, you're like, okay, I get 3 then, right? I understand it, right? 3 is important because, I want Susie to process payroll and she's at accounting. We're good, right? Like,
exactly.
But it's all about what you need and listening to your people. And that's one way to be a good manager, is listening to your people.
Yeah, and really just not dismissing the situation or just, dismissing them. Because when you say, because I told you so, that dismisses them.
Yes,
and it's very difficult. So if you can't lay out the game plan, hey, this is the game plan, this is what our goals are, this is what we're doing now. Great. At least you've given them the highlights and they can go from there if they need to dive in or whichever. But if you just shift and you're like, oh, we're doing this today, then it doesn't help people support and understand. So that was a big thing, really just that dismissal. And so I think it's important. That's why we kind of open this conversation is when you're communicating, how are you communicating or how are you not communicating, right? If you're communicating to yourself as a business owner, are you dismissing parts of your business because you're focusing in, because your focus is somewhere else? Mm-hmm. Are you, when you do go to network, you dismiss pieces of your business and don't bring those up thinking that it's not important, but yet it is. So really look at that scope when where are you being dismissive? Where are you missing the conversation? And I think that's really what I wanted to talk about.
And I think communication, especially in the business world, but everywhere, even in relationships, you have to listen first. So if you're not sure, like, let's say you're watching this and you're not sure if this is your type of management style, if you're doing this, if you're not listening to your people, go ask questions and say, what do you think about our XYZ policy? And just listen. Okay. If somebody says it's all right, that's why is it not great? Right? Like, you get my point? Like, ask the questions very simply and you'll get the answers that you want.
Yeah. And if it's all right is the answer, maybe the structure isn't working. Right? If 3 out of 4 employees are like, great, we do it. Like, maybe there's something off about it. And that's really important too, is that listening, what's going on, where are we?
Well, and I think not knowing what certain things mean. So, and hear me out. So this week, 2 people that I follow on LinkedIn, and then 1 person that was my colleague like 3 jobs ago, all of them all at once were like, I'm going on sabbatical. And I'm like, is it, like, literally, I'm sitting here like, isn't sabbatical for like professors at universities? Like, to go write a book or do research or something? Isn't that what's sabbatical? Like, I'm like, right? And so if you would have asked me, like, in any of these businesses that I've worked in the last 20 years, if somebody would have been like, what's our sabbatical policy? Did we have one? And I think that's the key too. A lot of times we're given policies, we're given manuals, we're given online places to look at things. And if you start asking your staff, Like, what do you think of our PTO policy? Right? You're going to get, sure, the wackadoodles that are like, well, we should have 3 months off every year. Okay. Like, we're not doing that. All right. But you're going to get some realistic things too. Like, every time I put something in, it takes like 3 weeks for it to get approved.
Yeah.
Why does it take so long? You know what I mean? Like, and those are the instances that you want, right? Now, for me, those sabbatical things weren't the problem, but it just made me think about, did any of my jobs have an option for a paid sabbatical? And I just gave it up.
Everybody's now going into their HR policies. Do I get paid for sabbatical?
Do we have that? And so yeah, I think that a lot of times managers don't understand where their people are coming from, and asking questions will get you there.
Yeah. And if you're above a manager and things are brought to you, make sure you're communicating to the people who brought it to you.
And that's a good thing.
It's as simple as we hear you and we addressed it.
And I'm going to go the flip side of that and ask your opinion. So I get so we're higher level, right? So let's say just, a VP's in a room with somebody and hears something. So they tell the managers, hey, you should probably address this. But what are your thoughts of, I'm a regular Joe Schmo coordinator, and I'm talking to a regular Joe Schmo customer service agent, right? We're at lunch together, and coordinator here's customer service person is, upset about something. Should that person go to a manager and say, hey, customer service over here, they're like, she says that everybody in customer service hates XYZ. Right. I don't know. You get my point? Are you giving up the camaraderie to help fix something? Do you ask them, should I help you fix this? I don't know.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Is if it's like, oh, everybody complains about this job thing and it's not your division and you don't know anything about it, you're probably not going to be heard when you come in, right?
Now, so you might as well ask anything anyways.
Right, sure. Exactly. Because, oh, sure, I'm friends with so-and-so who works for so-and-so, and I'm friends with that person too, so I'm going to take what they said and I'm going to take it to them, and now we're just like this circle of hearsay. Yes. But what I mean by when you're in a position and you hear something, it's more of that, one, is this an HR violation? Two,
I agree with that. HR is my thing.
Yeah. Is this HR violation? Two, is this harming our customer base, right? Like, is there something going on where our customer base is? Because here's the thing. If you do not like if you're an outbound call center and you don't like your lead system, right? The system you use to get your leads, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that, right? Enough people can say, hey, can we try something different? You can do that kind of a request. But if your leads are coming from people who are not like approving those calls, and now you've turned into this really nasty cold call company and you've got a reputation, hey guys, I've been hearing stuff.
Right. Like, and every call I'm getting yelled at. Right.
Right. And so that's what you really want to look at as far as, I think we need to adjust this. Even if it's your department or not your department, make sure you're pulling on somebody's ear. And hopefully those things can be addressed, and hopefully everybody will be aware that they're being addressed.
I hope so. But I think the end result of this, and I know we have a minute or two left here, but it's if a complaint or a concern or any word you want to fill into there is brought to you as a manager, as a leader, as a superior in the role, make sure that there is a legit closeout to that. Even if it's, I can't do anything right now, that's still a closeout. They know that you did what you could. They know that it's still on your radar, something, but have that chat with them to make sure that it didn't just come as an email. Hey, we closed this with nothing.
Yeah. And that's the big thing. If somebody's taking it up a notch, that notch should be responding, right? they should be able to say whether they kick it back down a notch or not. Hey, we received your feedback. We've spoken with this person and there's a plan. Even if you just say there is a plan, or we feel like this is a non-valid concern, right? If you at least give feedback and then close it out, that person's not dismissed, they're heard, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's a response. And I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway. And first of all, if you require people to write it in and submit it,
yes,
your response should always have a formal written response when submitted. And that's just a CYA. I feel like if you just close a case, when I was like, I'm going to get a lawyer.
Well, what's surprising to me is, so I've worked in quite a few bigger organizations. We'll just go with that, and y'all can go to my LinkedIn and figure out the ones I'm talking about. And obviously, the biggest one I worked for had processes for doing all of that, to submit a complaint, a concern, a whatever. And at the end, when you close it out, because the manager is the last one to see it, the person above whoever submitted, at the end there's a why are you closing it, right? And at the bare minimum there was a drop down, and then there was like, hey, if none of these fit, fill in the blank, right? That was the bare minimum of the process. So the concept that somebody's closing it and there's no bare minimum of why, right? The why are we closing it seems weird to me. But
right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there is a lack of CYA. If somebody took the time to fill out a form and submit it, and then you as the responder, your only response is closed.
Well, in your organization, the company you're talking is a big company too, right? This isn't like a fly-by-night, like small mom and pop or something, you know what I'm saying? That might not have all the bells and whistles of processes, right? But it's a pretty big organization. So it seems weird that they don't have,
because you don't have that communication. You can't, if you lose the person who closed that, you can't call that person.
No.
you have nothing. So unless there's a back end of that people don't see.
But if there was a back end, then the person wouldn't have said reopen it.
Right.
They would have said, oh crap, that didn't get sent to you. I'll send you the paragraph of why we closed it. You see my point? To me, there's like, they didn't check a box to send that to you. I'm sorry. We'll get that checked and we'll get it sent off to you. Does that make sense? Like, that didn't happen, which means it probably doesn't exist.
Yep, exactly. So I think that's, even as the person who's closing something, CYA, make sure that people are aware, hey, we've closed this, we've addressed this with this person. There should at least be a little bit of a conversation, because when the onlooker pulls it up, what's going to happen? Yeah. If they're saying, hey, there's something that happened, and this is not it. But if somebody put in, and I'm just going to go to extremes, sexual assault, assault of any type, right? Sure. If they did something to a customer that was fault, if they did something rough to a customer, if any of these like things happen and you just closed a case, that's going to fall on you with no notes.
So I am going to go with the rough with a customer. I'm going to give a disclaimer for the 0 people watching us right now that might watch us later. If there is an assault or a sexual assault, please call the police first.
Yeah.
Please call. Don't fill out a form online. Okay. Call the police. All right. So I know she went extreme examples. If somebody's like rude to a customer or rough with a customer or does anything that isn't, thank you, have a nice day. Okay, like, yes. All right, you should fill out the form online.
Or to yourself, or to you.
Or to you, yes, 100%. Yeah. Or to you. I'm just going off your examples, yeah.
Yeah.
But anything sexual assault related or regular assault related, please call 911
Yes.
or the the regular phone number if you know that. All right. So it is 1:35, I believe, or we've been on here for 35 minutes. We are horrible, no good, very bad people. No. All right. So I'll do me, and then you can round us out, and I'll hit end stream. So I am Sarah. I'm with Off the Beaten Path Consulting. I will go over here and find my links, and you can go follow me places or do something exciting with your life. Off the Beaten Path Consulting. Here's my links. And who are you?
I am Brittany with BizStorming, and I help business owners stay accountable in their business. This is Unleashed, and Sarah and I go unleashed, and we talk about different business topics and conversations. That way everybody is aware of what is happening and really just able to find your business voice. And we kind of talked about that last week with being a business owner. So I loved it.
All right. Sounds good. We'll see y'all next week. Somebody will see you next week. I don't know who it is yet. What?
Oh, I don't know, but it wanted me to individually go live with everything. So we're going to miss that. Don't ask. Bye, guys.
Bye.
1 2 1 2, need my attitude. 3 4 3 4, check my latitude.
Well, like that.